Whether I believe that I'm broken or that I'm unbroken, I'm right. We all have a story. All of us, we have a life story. But what if we have two stories? I have two stories. I have a story that hurt me, and I have a story that healed me. And I'd like to talk to you about those two stories today, so that maybe if any of us are in need of another story, you'll remember mine and know that it's possible. Story one. Story one is my broken story. If we start off at, don't worry, I won't go way, way, way back, but I'm going a little far back. Starting off at about 4 years old, I'm with my 2-year-old little sister, and we witness a horrific fight between my parents. And I'm 4 years old, covering her eyes, watching them, terrified, not knowing what's going to happen to them or my life. That day, I watched my parents separate forever. We left, and my life changed overnight. That day, I took away at 4 years old that talking was bad. It was going to cause problems. I associated that fighting with communicating could cause problems. Problems cause you to lose the people that you love. In my tiny little mind, it generalized out to the world. It became a worldview for me. And this is just before I'm going into kindergarten. I go into kindergarten and I don't talk. I actually really didn't talk, to the degree that I was held back. I was put into a special school the next year because they were just concerned about she doesn't talk. But I was talking. I just wasn't talking out loud. I had a lot of talking going on in here. I still had a voice, and my voice had very much turned inward, and it had also turned against me, because what I also took away that morning was something is wrong with me. I'm broken, because if all of this happened, when you're a child, you don't know, and I just took it on. There's no judgment in it, it just was. It's just, I took it on, and I thought, if I could have done something to change what happened, if I could have been unbroken, if I could have been different somehow, if something wasn't wrong with me, none of this would have happened. So as I continue on through my life with this image of talking is bad, something is wrong with me, and I am broken, it carries on through sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse. And that became my story. Story one, that really defined me. It didn't matter that I excelled in school. It didn't matter that I excelled in sports. It didn't matter that I went to college. It didn't matter that I had a degree. It didn't matter that I had tons of friends. It didn't matter that everyone around me said, "You're doing great." Inside, I was broken. And I knew it. And I could tell you all about it because that was my story. That was my story, and I stuck to it. Through any counseling session, through any opportunity to retell it, that was the story, and I was sticking to it. Something's wrong with me, and I'm broken. Then there was a point in my professional career, not several years ago, someone that I cared about and held in high respect. He looked at me and said, point blank, he looked me dead in my eyes, and he said, "Something is wrong with you." He had good intention. He did have good intention. We all have good intention. But when he said it, it was like my deepest fear, what I already knew, had been completely confirmed. I was like, I know, right? Something it's terribly wrong with me. But it rocked me to my core, and I'm grateful for those words because it started me on my second story. It started me on my second story, my story that is unbroken. Because what it did was when he said, "Something is wrong with you, Erica," it pushed me so hard inside that I started searching, is that true? Is something wrong with me? Is something truly wrong with me? Am I broken? I actually started to question my story that I held on to for dear life and defined myself and the world around me with. I actually started to question it because those words were so painful. It forced some type of shift. So as I continued to pursue, is something wrong with me? Is it true that I'm broken? I started to see what was right in my life. Because I also found a little book that I had written in kindergarten. That year I'd stopped speaking. I believe that nothing is coincidence. But I found this little book I hadn't seen since then. And in my tiny little kindergarten writing, I had written, it said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I wrote, I want to create things. And something hit me. I looked back at my life and I saw everything that was right. I saw everything that wasn't broken. That is all I had ever done was create. I was a writer. I was a painter. I was an artist. I was making things constantly to the point where my poor mom was like they looked like messes, but they were my creations. I mean, it was one creation after the other, all the way up into building companies and creating things outside of myself to create things for other people. And I realized that I wasn't broken, that nothing is wrong with me, and nothing had ever been wrong with me. But my story had to change, and I had to be open to something new about my story. And I found that first draft, that first story, it was a rough draft. Pun intended. It was a rough draft. But my story today is a story that is unbroken. My story today is a story that I love. And I will hold on to that story for the rest of my life. Thank you so much.
They must all be so self-conscious having that big picture.
That journey really inspired me to find. So there was a time in my past where, I fell down constantly because I was always trying new things and innovative and doing this and that, and I would fail constantly, and it was really, really hard for me. When it finally occurred that is like the secret sauce to success. We have to be willing to learn. So resilience is it's not how many times you fall down, it's how many times you get